You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hey guys, good to be back with you all for episode number 449 of Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. This week we've got a bit of a different show with all 5 members of our Mighty Blue class of 2024 checking in with me. Spoiler alert, one of them finished on Monday. Then I'm going to be letting you all know how my hike on the AT went last week. And second spoiler alert, it didn't go quite as planned. Shocker, eh? In fact, it's had implications on other future plans, which I'll fill you in on later. But out of that hike, I'm going to be introducing you all to 2 new friends who happen to own the hostel I stayed at on that trip. They're Donna and Bill Milsten, and their hostel is the Green Dragon in Hiawasee, Georgia. Third and last spoiler alert, I loved it there. So that's why I asked them on the show. With so many interviews this week, I've put back the next chapter of Emily Leonard's book, Happy Hiking, until next week. I'm sure you'll understand. So let's get to it and meet, for the first time in a few weeks, Anita, or Moxie.
Well,
Hey Anita, how are you?
good. How are you?
I'm not as excited as you are, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So tell everybody what happened this morning.
I summited Katahdin at 9 a.m. this morning.
Oh dear, that is amazing. What time did you set off then?
We set off about 6:20, so we got a little bit later start than we wanted, but it was a beautiful day. It was perfect, and yeah, we cruised right up.
You were moving then, blimey! You got up there at 9. Wow.
Yeah, just like 5 minutes after 9, something like that.
Well, we haven't spoken for a couple of weeks, and I obviously want to catch up with how it's gone, because I don't think you were even in Maine when we last spoke.
Yeah, actually I was. I'd just done like the Mahoosuc Notch and all of that.
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Right. So let's get to Katahdin. We'll talk about Katahdin again in a minute, but let's go back to where you were. You've done Mahoosuc Notch and so on. How have the last couple of weeks been then?
Not too bad. The weather was not cooperating really for quite a bit. So when we got
In what way?
when we got to the 100-mile wilderness, we just had complete fog.
Oh gosh.
Had no views at all. A little bit of rain. So yeah, sadly we didn't get to see much. So.
Well, you know what? By then, I suspect you were kind of ready to be done, weren't you?
Yes, sort of. I mean, I am anxious to get home and see my kids, but I have to say, I think I'm going to really miss just not, keep hiking. Like, I really...
Yes.
So it's going to be kind of hard.
Yeah, well, you're going to wake up tomorrow morning and you're going to be totally lost because what do I do today?
Yeah, at a bus ride to Bangor.
Oh dear, that's kind of anticlimactic when you finish. So how many of you went up there together?
Just me and my family. So we actually got really lucky. Kind of crazy story. A bunch of us. So we knew there was going to be probably 12 people signing into the Birches, but we didn't know how many others might be coming. So
Sure.
like 11 of us got up at 3:30 in the morning and went and waited till 7 o'clock to sign up.
Oh God!
So by 7 o'clock, the Birches were full.
Wow! How about that? Dear me.
Actually had one overflow. So 3 people went into an overflow. So this morning it was just me and my family that went up. So Jeff and Gazelle, we all 3 went up, and we had the whole summit to ourselves this morning for probably a good hour.
Well, I bet you did because you went up so fast. I still want to backtrack to the 100-mile wilderness and so on. How long did you take to get through? Did you carry your food all the way through?
No, so we had a drop off. So it was like 5.5 days.
5.5 days. That's good. I mean, did you enjoy it? I personally enjoyed it because it is actually a wilderness. I know people can get in and out on roads, but it feels like a wilderness, doesn't it? You feel like you're on your own.
Yeah, it really did. it was kind of sad we didn't get to see some views and stuff. But one morning we had a great, like, the sun had already come up, and then we got to see Katahdin over a lake. So that was like an amazing morning. And we even actually got trail magic in the woods. So that was kind of cool too.
Wow. Tell us about that.
So yeah, we were just like hiking along, and someone said, "Oh, there's trail magic ahead at the lake. Somebody, a 2022 hiker, is making meatball subs," and we're like, "What?" So yeah, we went over there, and Trail Doctor was his name, and he made us meatball subs. So it was pretty awesome, actually.
Now, which lake was that? Was that Is it Pemamdumcook Lake, something like that, where you got this fantastic view across the lake with Katahdin in the background?
I believe it was. We went out like on a couple rocks, and it was like, I think that's what it was called. Yeah.
Yes, on the rocks. Well, you may not know this.
Yep.
You may not know this. The original podcast artwork for this show is of me at Pemamdumcook Lake with Katahdin in the background, although you can't really see it with all the writing there. One of my favourite views of the whole trail was that view across the lake on those small rocks outcropping and just seeing Katahdin in the background.
Wow.
It gets very real there, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know you're nearly there. You don't want to fall. You don't want to get injured. Have you had any injuries recently at all?
Yeah. So actually, I fell quite ironically right after Moxie bawled. Since my trail name's Moxie, I got on Moxie. I was having a great day. We were doing like 19 and a half miles that day, and I don't know. I was by myself. I don't know what happened, but there was like one of those little like sticks that were sticking straight up, but it was covered, and I tripped and I landed really hard on my knee. So I actually had to hike 6 miles, six and a half miles, crying, literally just crying. My knee was swelling up. I was just bawling because it hurt so bad and trying to carry my. And then my tramley came, and luckily I contacted one of my trail angel friends, and he actually got in touch with Shaw's, and so Shaw's came and met me on a logging road and picked me up, and then I just iced it, took some ibuprofen, compressed it, and I got back on trail as soon as I could. So,
how long were you off trail then?
2 days. So,
and did your trammy go with you?
No, so they came by, and then they just went ahead just a little bit. So I got back up with them though. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for you. Good for you for catching up with them. You know, it'd be so tragic, really, if you've travelled with somebody for quite a long while and you can't go up Katahdin with them. So I'm really glad you got back. So you got to Able Bridge, which is always a kind of exciting moment as well, because you know you're really there. You're going to go up the next day, and then you got up this morning. You say, what time did you say you went up this morning?
So we left about 6:20 from the ranger station. We got our packs, took our stuff out, put it in a different pack. I mean, we carried our own packs up and left our stuff in the day packs, but
right.
our pack. But we left about 6:20, and then Gazelle and I got up there about 9:05, and Jeff actually got up there a little bit before us. So.
You made some real progress then. So tell us about the climb, because it's quite easy to start with, isn't it? And you think, is this Katahdin, really? You know, and then suddenly you just go above the clouds, go above the trees, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't even think the rock scramble was that bad. I mean, there was a couple spots, there's like one where you have the rebar and you kind of really have to pull yourself up.
Yes.
So you have to use like arm strength because there's no rocks for you to stand on, and I'm not I'm only like 5'8", so you really have to like pull yourself up. But I mean, it wasn't real horrible. There was a couple little spots, that you really had to like reach or pull, but I didn't think it was anything more, anything worse than some of the other stuff we've done.
Good Lord. I must admit, I think there's a lot of adrenaline going on in there as well. So you're probably excited about it all. So you're probably going to get up there without too many problems. But, you then get to the high bit, then get to the tablelands, and you keep walking and walking and walking. What was the view like up there?
It was amazing. You could not ask for a better view. It was just, we had the sun out. It was just nice puffy clouds. A little bit of wind. Jeff and Gazelle actually went and did the whole Knife's Edge and came back. I only did half of it just because of my knee. I didn't want to go like crazy. But it was just such a beautiful day. We were up there until about 1:00, and then we went down.
Wow.
Yeah, there was not a lot of people up there. So, and then we had more friends that came up, so we were kind of hanging out with them and stuff.
So as you had a clear view, you could approach the brown sign and you could see it all the way. What was it like as you're walking up to the sign? How are you feeling?
Well, it's funny because Gazelle's like, "Oh, there's the sign," but it wasn't the sign. It was the sign down below
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we're like, "Oh, well, that's not the sign." So then we like kept going, and then she's like, "Oh my gosh, that is the sign!" And so we had to stop and take a picture, and we're like, "Oh my gosh, we're like right there. We're so close." And it was just like we couldn't wait to get to that triangle sign because it's about something we've been waiting for so long. So It was amazing. I thought I was gonna cry. I didn't, but I did. My eyes welled up a little, but I was just like so excited. It was just.
I know that my first feeling when I touched it was I felt accomplished. I'd attempted to do something and I'd bloody well done it. That's what I felt at the time. How were you feeling?
I felt the same way, honestly. Like I was just like, wow. Like I told everybody I was going to hike the Appalachian Trail, and they thought a lot of people thought I was crazy. And I just couldn't believe it. I was just so excited. I mean, it was amazing that I accomplished that. So, yeah, great.
I can tell you that you're going to experience more and more stuff in the next couple of weeks as you realise what it's meant to you and so on. And can you think of any takeaways that you're going to take away with you that lessons you're going to learn for the rest of that'll keep you going for the rest of your life?
Wow, so many things. I mean, just the people that you meet all the time, whether it's like, other hikers or all the trail angels or the people that do trail magic or the people that pick you up, when you're hitchhiking. It's just amazing, like what such a great community the hiker community really is. And I don't think anyone really understands it unless you really do something like this.
Yeah.
But I mean, it makes you realize that, there are really actually good people still out there in the world. And it's just amazing to see. And I don't know, I'm just so fortunate that I got to meet so many amazing people and just so much kindness on the trail. It's just unbelievable, so many people.
What about the journey down? You said your friends did the Knife Edge. Did they come down the Knife Edge or did they just go and come back again?
Yeah, they just went and came back again. I did half of it, and then I came back. So I didn't want to do all of it. We came down A-Ball, which actually I thought A-Ball was worse than the Hunt Trail.
Did you?
Yeah, I had to sit down and slide on some rocks. I mean, it was pretty steep, and the trail was really like sandy and loose rock on a lot of it, so you're sliding a lot. So I see why they call it like the A-Ball slide trail.
Are you still with your family? Have they gone home?
No, so we're all at the 100 Mile Wilderness Inn. They're outside, getting ready. A bunch of us are going to go have pizza and some beers.
I bet you are, and well deserved. It's a fantastic moment, and really enjoy it. As I always say to people, you've got about 3 weeks window to tell your stories, because people are just not going to understand it after that. They're going to want you to shut up and talk about something other than the Appalachian Trail. But in the next 3 weeks, they're going to listen to your story. So be prepared and enjoy it. Enjoy the moment. And many congratulations. I really, I'm in my little small way. I'm very proud of you. So I'm really glad you did it. And you sound so happy. So that's always a good thing.
Yeah, I am elated. I still can't believe it. It's hard to believe.
In about 2 months' time, I'm gonna, or 3 months maybe, I'm gonna reach out to you again and get you back on the show to talk about, how you think is involved in those 2 months, because I guarantee you it will. Okay.
Yeah. Awesome.
Okay.
Hey,
all right then. But
Georgia.
Georgia, well, I'm actually going to tell people on the show
Okay.
because we're still recording, but
Okay.
it wasn't as good as I'd hoped for a number of different reasons. But I'll leave it like that. But I tell you what, once I press stop recording, I'll then tell you. All right, then we'll take it easy. Enjoy your pizza and enjoy a few beers, and we'll speak soon anyway. Okay.
Okay. Thanks so much, Steve.
Cheers then. Bye.
Bye-bye.
You should see Moxie's summit picture in the show notes. When she said she'd had a perfect day up there, she was not kidding. And of course, getting up there by 9 in the morning, God knows how she did that. She was able to hang out up there as others finished and allowed her to enjoy the mountain, which many of us don't have the chance to do. I think I only spent about an hour there, as I knew I had about 5 hours to go to get back down again. And following it, Moxie bored. Irony is not dead, is it? Fortunately, while it slowed her down, she was able to get over it pretty quickly and still managed to rejoin her family in time for their summit. Congratulations, Moxie. We'll catch up with you again in a few months. And as you heard, I kind of shared something about my own hike, so I think we'll do that now. As many of you know, I went to hike the AT Approach Trail and those early miles in Georgia, intending to climb Blood Mountain and end in Hill Gap. My buddy Andrew drove up from Fort Lauderdale to pick me up on the Sunday morning, and we headed north. He'd arranged for us to stay at Donna and Bill's place in Hiawasee, while his buddy, Tracy, was going to pick us up from there the following morning. All that worked out, and we then drove to Amicalola on the Monday. When we set out, it was already warm, and we headed up the stairs by the falls. I'd never done that before, starting my 2014 through hike from the lodge at the top and avoiding the approach trail altogether on my 2019 through hike. I actually quite enjoyed the stairs, though the sweat was running as we got to the top. We'd been expecting temperatures in the high 80s, and that is exactly what we got. With my heart issues, and I guess as much in my mind as anything, I was constantly monitoring my heart rate, and for the whole trip, I was between 135 and 160. It was bloody exhausting. I've got to tell you, I don't think I'd factored the heat into my hike, and we all felt utterly drained. We managed to fill up with water about 2 miles from the top, but that was the last water we saw. At the Springer Mountain shelter, there was literally a droplet every 2 or 3 seconds, making any water impossible to gather. We managed to get through dinner, then breakfast the following morning, but Far Out was giving us no encouragement about the upcoming section, with the last reference to water back in July. The two guys, both pragmatic ex-cops, and I, made the decision to end the hike there and hike back down the approach trail the following morning, where we'd be able to get water on the way down. That night in my hammock, I had to jump out from time to time with cramp, so it was clear that the sweat had relieved me of my electrolytes earlier in the day. But it was thinking back to earlier that day that led me to an unhappy conclusion. My first day on the Wonderland Trail would be about twice the length and twice the elevation gain, and at 72 years old next month, I know I'm not old, but I didn't want to burden my partner, Baseman, with me, so I let him know that I wouldn't be joining him after all. I felt and still feel bad about it, but I know it's the right decision for me at this time. Who knows how I'm going to feel soon, but sometimes you have to make the difficult call, and I did. The following day, it was still baking, but we were able to get water, and obviously we were going back downhill. So, a kind of disappointing end to what should have been a great few days. I know a lot of you, from the emails you kindly write me, were looking forward to hearing about both this hike and the Wonderland Trail, so that disappoints me even more. Thanks for listening. Now let's catch up with Sloggy. Here he is.
Hello.
Hey, Bubby, how are you?
Hey, doing great, Steve. How are you?
Not too bad. And you are in Monson. How was it? What's the atmosphere like there?
So I'm just outside of Monson. I'm actually at staying at my father-in-law's camp, about 35 minutes from Monson in Dover Foxcroft.
Oh, but of course you've been really with family quite a bit, haven't you? You know, you've been seeing people in Maine. Are you missing out on some of the atmosphere? Because staying at Monson at Shores is quite something as well.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I'll probably after my hike I'll go up there. I was talking to Poet. Of course, he's one of the owners. He and wife Hippie Chick, and I saw him. I'd met him once before, but I saw him yesterday at the trailhead. He was shuttling some people, and we talked for quite a while. And he knows I volunteer with the Maine AT Club, and he said, "Oh, when you finish, come back." come up for some free breakfast and stuff. So I definitely do want to check that out. But as far as the atmosphere, that's pretty much, probably the only place that I really haven't gone. But it's been nice to be with family for sure.
Sure. Oh, of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah. And you mentioned in your message to me that you had a beautiful day for the saddlebacks and the biggos. I loved the biggos. I don't really recall the saddlebacks that much. So tell us what it was like.
Oh yeah. It's both days, and Franconia too. I mean, we had quite a run of bad luck. But then, we had a great Franconia day, and then the bigelows and the saddlebacks were just amazing. It has a similar look, like, how you kind of go up that ridge and you keep going up and up. Very similar look to Franconia, and just beautiful. We had tremendous views, and just perfect, not too cold, but not too hot either. Just great weather. So we were so happy to get that, because we'd had some pretty swampy, muddy areas that we'd been walking through. So it was just great. It was so beautiful.
And you mentioned, I don't really understand this note, so you can explain it perhaps. Don't sleep on Western Maine. unless I misunderstand that totally.
Yeah, no. It's funny because a lot of people are like, because the whites get so many. It's like all the Sobos try to scare you coming south.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the whites, and and they are. I mean, it can get nasty up there with the weather. But I told people, I said, when you finish the whites, don't take a deep sigh and say, the Maine is going to be easy, because really from the Maine-New Hampshire border until you hit the Kennebec River, it's pretty rugged. I mean, you've got some really tough. The couple I'm with, Conaline and Dixon, they agreed that probably the toughest 2 or 3 days in a row we had in Western Maine, going through Mahoosic Notch and some of those places. So it's pretty tough out there, and you're not going to do a lot of mileage out there either.
Sure, and people refer to it as Southern Maine, don't they? But Western Maine's more correct, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it comes across the border so far north. Even when I start looking at the maps, even more north than I originally thought, to be honest. And it's pretty rugged out there.
Yeah, but rugged in a magnificent way. I think you really get the atmosphere, the feeling of hiking in the north, don't you? This is such a different place to Virginia. Say Virginia's great in its way, but this is so different now.
Yeah, you're 100% right. And actually, somebody mentioned that on our views, you really couldn't see businesses or Walmarts, or you get to actually get up on a mountain and look out and see just trees, which is kind of cool, really. It just shows you how kind of out of the way we are up there in that area. Absolutely. And you mentioned that there's been a bunching of nobos. I think from my memory, that's because a lot of people just slowed down because they wanted to savor it all and enjoy the last few days of the journey. So is it starting to get busy again? Yeah. I mean, we went for quite a ways without really seeing many nobos at all, or Sobos or anybody, to be honest. And then we got to Stratton, and we did a zero at the main roadhouse. I don't know if you ever stayed there.
Do you know, I don't recall that I did. I don't. I stayed at Stratton. It used to be a woman called Sue's. I can't remember. It was across the road from the Wolf Inn, I think it was. So maybe it was. Yeah, maybe it was. I don't know. Maybe they changed the name. What about it?
Yeah,
what about it? Anyway?
Actually, a new one. Yeah, it was great. Okay. But we got there and we ended up zeroing, and I think there were. Oh boy! Well, when we took the bus that they actually bought a little bus back to the trail. Nice. There were 22 of us on the bus.
Wow!
Yeah, and a bunch of people kind of gathered there, and then there was another hostel in town, and they were almost sold out. So yeah, and then the river crossing, the day we did it at the Kennebec, and then the day after, there was probably over 20 people there at the river crossing.
You said there was a family feast.
Yeah, we had so we crossed the Kennebec, and then my wife was on the other side, and she picked up myself and my 4 tramley members, if you will, and we went to her dad's camp, and he put on a feast for me. We had, I'm going to make people jealous here, but we had steak, lobster, spaghetti. I mean, it was, and then and all my family, my kids came, and my sister-in-law, and I think we had probably close to 20 people there, and it was such a great time. And then we all ate too much, drank too much, and then we hit the trail the next day.
No such thing when you're hiking.
I don't know. We all felt it the next day, and so then we hit the trail, and then we just banged out. We went Caratunk to Monson, and I think we did it in about a day and a half.
Wow!
To get back, yeah. We were going to do it in 2.5 days, and we got out there, and it was. I mean, it's the elevation you get used to, and then it gets a little flat, and we're like, oh, we can do 22 miles a day, and get to Monson, and so my wife picked us up again there, and then so we're taking a 0 today, and getting all our logistics and food and everything, and we'll hit the trail, the 100-mile wilderness tomorrow, and we're looking to summit right now on September 8th.
September the 8th. Oh, a week today, Sunday the 8th of September. Yeah. Weekends are pretty busy. So don't worry if you slow down and do it on the 9th.
Yeah, I know. Well, luckily my family does have parking passes for the 8th and the 9th, because I have some family that want to join me on that summit day, which will be fun.
Right.
So we've got that covered. We'll just wait for good weather. We're not summiting unless it's good weather. So
yeah, quite right too. So your family feast. So you're surrounded by family, some of whom I presume you haven't seen since you started. What's their attitude towards it now? Are they excited for you? Are they thinking glad it's over? I mean, how are they regarding you?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. I think and that's a little how I'm feeling, a little of both. Like neither one is stronger than the other. I mean, I'm looking forward to having it be over, but oddly enough, as I've got closer to home, it's been a little more relaxing because I've been able to see people, so I'm not quite as eager. But I'm excited. I mean, like I've said before on different podcasts of yours, I've done the 100-mile wilderness so many times, and it's basically like home. And I know, I mean, I won't even have to pull out the Far Out app out there, which would be nice for a change.
But it's going to be different. Bobby, it's going to be different. It's going to be different because this is the culmination of a through hike. I mean, I'm sure you won't be going through it the same way you went through it before. Your thoughts will be different. Your knowledge of where you are in relation to this hike will be different. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy it probably in a whole new way.
Oh, 100%. Oh, no, I agree. And I'll be going through it faster than I usually do too.
What is the strategy?
We're going to be skipping some lean-tos that I usually spend the night at. So
right. So what's the strategy for the 100-mile then?
So we're going to do 5 nights, 6 days. We'll do Long Pond and then up to near Gulf Haggis, and then once you once you get over Whitecap, it's pretty flat. So we got a couple 20s built in there, but nothing that's. I mean, there's no reason to make any days hard on ourselves at this point.
There's not, and also I don't know about you, but I know that I started feeling a little bit nervous about my footing towards the end because it was so relatively easy. It's relatively flat. You don't want to slip on a route. There's lots of routes there, aren't there?
No, there's tons of routes, especially around the lakes, and I've started feeling that way probably the last 3-4 days because a gentleman from Massachusetts that we all know that in my group right here now, he fell near Carter Notch on just north of the Wildcat and broke 2 ribs.
Oh gosh!
So
is he off?
I mean, that's
is
over 1,800. He's off. Yeah.
Oh.
So
yeah. Well, look, you can't. No one can worry about that because you can't cater for that, can you? You just have to be aware all the time. We said this before, every single step is a possible trail ender, isn't it? So you just have to hike the way you've been hiking and stay safe. So the strategy for the 100-mile wilderness, you're going to get resupplied in there, or are you going to take your stuff all the way through? Yeah, no,
we were going to go all the way through, but the manager of that section for the main AT club is a friend of mine, Brad Dean, and he said that he would. If we wanted, he'd do a food drop for us on the Joe Mary Road.
Nice.
So, he was willing to do it and happy to do it. And I said, well, why not? I mean, save carrying 6 days of food. So it'll pretty much split up the food. for us, about half and half or so. So that'll be good. And then, when my family meets us on the morning of the 8th or 9th, they'll bring some snacks and things for us.
Yeah. How many coming up with you?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 7 total, but we'll have to break it up because everybody's going to be going at a different speed. So we'll have some different groups of people. But my 2 daughters and everything, and then my wife's going to start with us as well. And it's going to be a great day to a long journey. Sometimes it seems like it was just last week when I started. It's funny. I was looking through some of my videos today on my channel because some of the people want to finish on Knife Edge, so I was showing them a video of what it looks like going across there, and just scrolling back through my videos, I'm like, holy cow, it's been, a long time. It's been a long time, but when you look back on it, it went in a flash, didn't it, really? Yes, definitely. So I'm glad I do have a lot of the pictures and videos to look back on and things like that, because that'll be kind of fun to look back on when I'm sitting in the house this winter in the cold Maine winter. So
sure. So you're going to summit next Sunday. So
yep.
Tell me, the next morning, what are you going to do?
Sleep in and make myself some French toast.
That's probably the best thing to do. Have you got any plans about what you're going to do once you're done? I think I probably have asked this already, but I'm not sure. But you planning to do any other long hikes elsewhere?
Well, probably nothing of this length again. I mean, we tossed around the Camino. I mean, that's something that.
That's right.
It's not a crazy long hike, but immediate plans. I've got a lot of friends that I met early on and throughout the hike who are more than a week behind me now. So I'm looking forward to, doing some trail magic for them out in the 100-mile wilderness.
That's lovely.
Or food drops for them. And then I'm also going to put my name out there to do some shuttling, because there's really the public transportation between, the Bangor airport and
sure.
Millinocket and Baxter. I mean, it's really tough for people to get in and out of there. So I'm gonna get my name and far out to just offer some people some kind of door-to-door shuttles just to help them out. That's great
too. That's great.
Yeah.
You felt the love of people out there, haven't you, and how people support you. So it's great that you're close enough to give back in that place as well, especially where you'll be meeting people who are at their happiest, I guess, because they've just finished the trail or about to finish the trail. So last question, are you happy? If there's one emotion, if not two, but are you happy or sad that it's coming to a close?
Well, if I have to pick the two, kind of happy, but not the only reason for it to end, but just, I was able to do it because
yes.
Everybody who starts, I think, wonders if their body can do it. So I'm happy that I've been able to do it, and happy that I've met a lot of, great people. I'm looking forward to seeing Professor Milkshake again. I mean, I hiked with him for a couple hundred miles. I haven't seen him since just north of Grayson Highlands. So
he's around. He's around.
Yeah, I know he's around. So I'm happy that I'll get to see a lot of those people I hiked with and stuff. So definitely happy, but sad as well. But it'll be it'll be like just closing a chapter on something you did.
That's right. That's right.
Definitely happy at this point.
Thank you, man. Well, look, I'm delighted for you, and with a bit of luck, if you go next Sunday morning, let me know beforehand if you can. I'd love it if you could just call me at the top. If you can't, that's fine. But if you can call me at the top, it'd be really nice to record that.
Yeah, no, okay. That'd be great. I would definitely do that for sure, and I'll text you, if I can on what day it ends up being, so you'll have a heads up.
That's great. Well, look, I wish you all the best, and I'm sure everybody wishes you all the best, and congratulations, and just stay safe for the next week and get it done.
One more week.
That's right. Okay, Bobby, you take it easy and enjoy the rest of this trip.
All right, Steve. We'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, man. Bye.
Yep. See ya. Bye-bye.
How about that? He's finishing in some style, isn't he? A family feast for 20 must have put a spring in his step, I'd imagine. It's nice for Sloggy to be in such familiar territory for him. He knows Maine, constantly hiking there. Yeah, I'm sure that when he does Katahdin next week, for the umpteenth time, it will be the most special time he's ever done it. I hope that we get the chance to hear from him at the top for next week's show. And how nice is it that he's going to be offering some shuttling and trail magic to his fellow hikers straight away? It's what the trail teaches you, with all of us receiving so much more than we give out there. Good for you, Sloggy. And of course, he mentioned that he's looking forward to seeing Professor Milkshake again. Well, you can't see him now, mate, but you can hear him. Here's the Professor. We're on with David Vose. Hey, David, how are you?
Good, Steve. How are you?
I think I'm okay. Now you should be in the Bigelows according to your text yesterday. Is that where you are now?
You're exactly right. Yeah, we're between West and the East Peak, going up a rock scramble. Right in the middle of the rock scramble, actually. Yeah, it's a great day,
tough.
Beautiful view.
It's quite tough, isn't it?
Yeah. Surprisingly, didn't expect it.
Didn't you expect it? Good Lord. Oh, dear. It's got, the Bigelows have got a reputation. So I'm glad you enjoyed it still?
Oh, yeah. We're having a great time.
And you mentioned that I know one of my favourite spots was, because I had a beautiful day there, was on Baldpate Mountain. You helped a hiker afraid of heights on Baldpate. That must have been tough for them when they realised they were afraid of heights. I mean, what happened?
Well, we saw them at the shelter the night before, and they decided to go through the notch, Mahoosuc Notch, at about 5:30. They left about 5:30.
Wow.
And which was not probably the wisest decision. And they stayed in the notch overnight. So I think they had a really bad night.
Wow. Where did they stay?
I don't know. I mean, I don't recall any place you could really pitch a tent. So I'm assuming they hunkered down in a cave or something.
Good Lord.
And the next day they were going up Baldpate, and they were just having a really tough time. So there were 5 of us. We were all kind of dads, and we just helped them up and
kicked into dad mode. You kicked into dad mode.
We did. Yeah, we did. But I think they did fine, because that was East Baldpate, and then West Baldpate is even more exposed and steep. So I think after they got a good night's sleep and reset, I think they did fine. But being afraid of heights.
Was this a thing that was new to them, or they hadn't realised it was going to get quite hilly later on?
I don't know. I mean, there's been plenty of hilly stuff, so I think it might have just been the fact that it was so exposed, and the fact that they were very from the night before.
Right.
But we've seen them since, and they've been doing fine. So.
Okay, great. And you say you've missed a lot of hiker feeds, which is poor you, because they're certainly worth having when you have them, aren't they? But you had one in Rangeley, so talk to us about that.
Yeah, I've only really hit 2 hiker feeds. One was Damascus, and one was in Troutville. So I was determined to make Rangeley, and we got in there. It was a little thing. You never know how many hikers you're going to get, but
sure.
We had a great time. There was an ice cream eating contest, which we participated in. And the guy who won tore open the ice cream cart and picked up the ball of ice cream in his hand and just ate it like it was a ball of popcorn.
Oh, dear. How much did you have to eat? What is the contest that you'd eat? Basically eat as much as you can, a bit like the half-gallon challenge, but as much as you like.
It was a pint. Everyone had a pint.
Oh, that's fine. That's not a problem at all.
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah.
But it was fun, and it was amazing just to watch this guy. He was just covered in ice cream, his entire face. So we got a good chuckle out of it.
I'm sure, and I'm sure he's had an experience that he's going to remember the rest of his life as well.
He certainly will.
And at Rangeley, which is, remember, a long way into this hike, you saw a hiker from your first day on Springer. Firstly, how do you remember somebody from the first day?
Well, this person was notable. Their looks were notable. And
in what way? In what way?
I was just their hair and their earrings and tattoos and things like that. Not someone that you would forget easily.
Right. Okay. All right.
But it was great to see them, and they didn't really remember me because I have a lot more hair now too. A big bushy beard and lots of hair. So, but we talked, and it was good to catch up. It's amazing, that you go this far and see them. We've been hiking around each other probably the entire time.
Yes.
This one day, we come together. So it was great.
So you've effectively been doing exactly the same pace, but at different times, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of remarkable how that happens. And you got quite philosophical. Now, before we go on to that, actually, how have you changed physically? You say you got a big bushy beard and longer hair. Have you lost weight? How are you feeling physically?
I have lost weight. I lost about 15 max, but I've kind of been really stuffing myself in town, so I'm only down to about 10 pounds lighter than I was when I started.
Wow.
But I certainly have trail legs. I was a little concerned that my legs were swelling, and I just realized it's muscle on them. So, and then, upper body, I've lost a lot of mass there, but that's typical for men. So
that's right. Yeah. Yeah. The women all look great when they finish, and the men all look like sort of weedy people, don't they?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I know. I certainly did. And as I say, you wrote that you're getting more accepting of the fact that the hike will end. That's an interesting statement. What do you mean by that?
Well, I guess one of the reasons I'm thinking about it that way is because we're expecting my mom to pass any day now. So I've just been thinking more about, journeys and passages and things like that. Sure. And there are things that are inevitable, and, her journey is coming to a conclusion, and this one is too, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you just have to accept it. But
sure.
And it's a, for the hike, it's a sad thing, but it's also kind of a joyful thing because you can be grateful for the experience, and you're going to have lots of stories and memories, and you have your entire life to appreciate the experience. And the same with my mom. When a loved one dies, you have the same opportunity to reflect back and appreciate their life, and you have those memories.
Have you been able to see her since you've been hiking? Have you been home? I can't recall. Have you been home?
I haven't been home.
Right. So
I talked to her.
Right. Okay. And she knows you're out there doing the trail.
She has dementia, so I don't know kind of, what she really knows, but I think that I'm very confident that I'm exactly where I should be. I think she would feel that way, and my family feels the same way too. So I'm right where I should be, and I think she's okay with that.
And when is your summit date? Have you got it in your mind now?
We're looking at probably the 16th, Monday the 16th.
Monday the 16th. So have you worked that out? Because there's still a while to go yet.
We're going to cross the Kennebec tomorrow, and we'll be at Shaw's on Friday for 0.
Right.
And then we figure we'll take about 7 or 8 days to do the 100-mile wilderness. So that's what we're looking at the moment. Okay.
Well, it's an exciting time, and it is a reflectful time as well. It's you've done some pretty tough mountains, and it's going to start getting easier soon as well. It's already started to get easier, I think, after the Bigelows, funny enough. So,
so on top of the Bigelows, if you look north, you can see where the land kind of flattens out. The mountains kind of to the east and south, you certainly have more mountains. But if you look kind of northeast, you can see how the land flattens out, and I think that's where we're going.
Okay. Well, look, the service is a little bit going in and out, but I've got to, I know you're at the Bigelow, so there's always going to be a trick, and you're rock scrambling as well, which is even better. But you carry on, and we'll catch up with you next week, and as you get closer to the end. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
Cheers, David. All the best. Bye.
Okay. Thanks, Steve. Bye.
I love the Bigelows, so it was nice to hear him from that rugged place. I recall that we had great views that day, both times actually, so the background wind was a familiar sound. And with his mother soon to pass, he became quite philosophical about her and his hike. It's one of the things about this trail, and I'm sure others, that we're able to express deep thoughts in a way we might not otherwise back home. I'm sure that the Prof will be thinking about good times with his mother in those next few days as he edges towards his own ending on this journey. Certainly the trail's a good place to get those thoughts in order. A few thank yous from the past 2 weeks now, with a new recurring donor, Emily's Escapades. That's Emily and Bruce Leonard. Thanks, guys. Bruce Brinker, Jessica Diaz, Hugh Ickrath, James Boyd, Small World IFT, Michael Garsh, Kevin Eastman, Ann Dobson, Mike Cicello, Dave Santee, Alan Troy, Jens Lebeheide, Brian Helton Jr. and Lisa Runner. Also this week, we had generous donations from Dal Personet, Barry Hill, Sean Kirby, and Laura Sanders. Laura added a note writing, "Thank you for all you do for the hiking community, Steve. Thanks to all of you for stepping up and recognising that these shows don't just happen in a vacuum, and all donations are always gratefully received." Now, let's meet a couple of new friends. Here are Donna and Bill Milsten from the Green Dragon Hostel. Our guests today are Donna and Bill Milsten. Hey guys, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Now, you started a hostel last year, I believe. Where exactly is it?
Our hostel is in Northeast Georgia, up there in that corner, but we are about 7 miles from mile 53 Unicoi Gap on the trail, and we're about 9 or 10 miles from Dix Creek at mile 69. We're kind of in between two
63
pickup points.
Right. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a second, but I suppose this isn't for everybody, obviously. And I was there this last weekend, so this is why I wanted to talk to you. You've got a lovely setup, by the way. Tell us, why did you want to do this in the first place? Donna, were you the person pushing this?
Probably.
Bill's nodding, by the way.
So I started hiking the trail in 2017. I'd always wanted to do it. I didn't hike the whole thing, but I'd always wanted to do it. And when I announced to my family that I was going to spend 2 weeks hiking the Appalachian Trail, they weren't particularly thrilled, but they were supportive. They were nervous for me. But they were supportive. And I fell in love. I mean, I was immediately drinking the Kool-Aid and fell in love with the trail, the culture, the people, just everything about it. Simultaneously, at the same time, Bill and I were becoming kind of unhappy with things going on where we worked. We were both high school teachers. Right. So we started talking about possibly doing this as a retirement job. Hang
on. You meant to slow down when you retire, which is clearly not what you're doing.
Well, except for from our last job, this actually is a little slower.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. This is actually kind of less stress. I can go to the bathroom when I want, stuff like that.
Nice. Yeah.
So during the pandemic, I started bringing groups of teenage girls up here to hike. I don't know if you know anything about what teaching was like during the pandemic, but it was a total hellscape.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah. So January of 21, we're almost a full year into the pandemic, and Bill and I used to do a lot of international travel with our students, and we were supposed to take students to Japan, but I knew that Japan was not going to open. And one day, a whole bunch of my students were asking me, a bunch of my girls were asking me questions about the trail. And I looked at these kids who had kind of been through hell over the last year with, online learning, virtual learning, the news is scary, the world's on fire. And I said, hey, if I took you guys up to the trail to hike for a week, is that something that you would be interested in? And they all yelled and cheered, me, take me. So I had a meeting with a bunch of parents, and I really thought that after explaining what I wanted to do with them, I told the parents, I said, after a year of the world is on fire and I want to get your girls away from all that and in nature and away from the poison that is on their cell phones, because social media is literally destroying our youth.
And I predicted that you would have no success, that the parents would say, no way, that's not safe.
Yeah, we really thought that the parents would say, well, is that safe? Don't people get murdered on the Appalachian Trail? And instead, every single one was like, take my kid. Right. Take my kid for 2 weeks if you can.
There's other motives for that as well, aren't there? Really, wanting you to take the kids away. So you took them out there, okay? And so what happened then?
So I took my adult daughter as my second chaperone, and we used Above the Clouds. My daughter and I had stayed with Lucky at Above the Clouds during November of 2020. And I contacted Lucky, and he really believed what I was trying to do and was really generous in helping me out. So I took the girls up, and we spent a week using Above the Clouds as our home base. So a couple of nights in the hostel, a couple of nights on trail,
nice.
Night in the hostel before driving back to Florida. And it went fantastic. And the testament to how successful it was that on the way home, the girls were planning what pictures from the trip they were going to use on their personal yearbook page. That's
Wow.
that's the
Nice.
testament, right? But the real testament to me was all the girls who didn't graduate the next year returned for the trip again the following summer. And if they had graduated, they sent their younger sister.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was really, I have girls who did the trip with me 3 years in a row. And other girls who sent their sister, and other girls who asked, hey, I have a friend, but my friend's parents has seen what I've been doing and how beneficial these trips have been for me. And even though my friend does not go to the school where you teach, my friend really wants to go. My friend's parents want to send her, because I made the trip a lot more than just hiking in the woods. The girls all had to bring journals, and every morning, every morning and every night we would have like family meeting time, and I would give them writing prompts and things to process, and we would have discussions, and the girls could share with the group as little or as much as they wanted. Some of what the girls wrote, they ended up using in their college application essays, like for the Common App. So yeah, the first year went great. The second year went even better. And it was a program that I was just really, really proud of. And Bill and I kept talking about how we could expand it. And that led to talking about opening a hostel. And that led to me getting Bill to drink the Kool-Aid. And here we are.
So he actually drank the Kool-Aid. Now, I know you found the spot, and you told me the other day it seemed to be the perfect spot for you. And I must say, as I say, that the setup's great. But it isn't close to the trail. So some people, it's quite a way to get there. But you solved that problem by shuttling, don't you? So tell us where you pick up and what's the cost to people to be picked up.
If you stay at the hostel, we will pick you up for free and bring you back the next morning to Dix Creek at mile 69, and at Unicoi Gap at mile 53. And then, of course, we do pick up further away for a small fee.
Sure, but how do you make that work? Because especially in a high season, you get a call, you go and pick up, and I know you guys pick up your phone straight away, because when I called the other day, you picked up the phone straight away, Donna. Thank you for that. And you kind of head out, pick someone up, so it's 8 or 10 miles, whatever it is, then you come back, and then someone calls again. How do you manage that?
I've already had 2 1-hour drives this morning.
Oh my gosh.
But that's kind of normal. And when it's busy, drive, and drive. Our afternoon schedule, we actually created a schedule that the hikers all know that we take them downtown at 3:30.
Oh, right. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, we kind of made a schedule for the afternoon, but the morning, we make a schedule every single night based on how many hikers are going where, and we just kind of set it up as quickly as possible and load those vehicles up and just fly.
Yeah, we really try to keep people from waiting, because there's nothing like getting off trail and you're exhausted and possibly cold, possibly wet, possibly tired, possibly injured. So when I know that people are coming in, if it's not a same day call in, I communicate with them, and I'll often find out like, oh, you're going to be, camping at Blue Mountain Shelter the night before. I have 2 other hikers, and we'll try to coordinate to pick up as many people together as possible.
Nice. Yeah. So then they get to your hostel, and having stayed there this past weekend, just couple of nights, I'm a particular fan of the privacy in the bunk beds and the curtains. So tell us about how you came up with the idea of what to do. Was it your own hiking, or was it advice from other people?
A little bit of both. So the curtains, I actually plagiarized that from Lucky over at Above the Clouds. Right. If you're down in south end of Georgia, anything south of Neil Gap, we really tell people Above the Clouds is going to be a great place to stay. You're going to spend more time on trail, less time in the car. Because sometimes we'll have people who come through and they're like, oh, we want to stay with you. And it's like, nope, I'm going to do what's best for you. What's best for you south of Neil Gap is that you're going to go stay with Lucky at Above the Clouds, because the shuttle drive is going to be a lot shorter. So there was so much I learned from Lucky and also Nimrod. When I started taking the girls to stay at Above the Clouds, Nimrod was with Lucky as well. And I learned so much about how to run the hostel, and the kind of amenities I wanted to have from both Lucky and Nimrod. So the fact that we have Nimrod with us now it's every time I see Nimrod, I can hear like the Lion King, like Circle of Life in my head, because it just seems like it's come full circle that Nimrod was a huge part of why I wanted to get into the hostel business. And now he's helping us every day. So,
and also from the hikers, we, you have to be willing to listen to criticism. And I get a lot of criticism when I'm dropping off the next morning, and it's things like, hey, you know what would be really helpful if there was a little net inside the bunk where I could hang my phone. And oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And then come back and talk to Donna. So I would say there's 5 or 6 things right off the top of my head that hikers gave us the idea. I was like, that's a great idea. We should do that.
Yeah, I don't know if I would call it criticism, but definitely we are constantly asking people for feedback. Like, we want to know people's opinions, the good, bad, and the ugly. So we're always trying to, I guess that's one of the things Bill and I are the most proud of, is how much we've kind of evolved since we first started.
Yeah.
Continuing. Yeah. One time, this is going to be funny. One time someone asked me, and it was someone who had stayed in a lot of hostels on trail and a lot of the ones that I had stayed at too. And it's always fun to kind of compare notes with people about, your experiences at the same hostel, but different years apart.
Sure.
And he said, well, what was the biggest amenity you wanted to have? And I said, honestly, this is not really an amenity, but the biggest feature I wanted to have, based on all my experiences with different hostels, was I wanted it to be clean. I wanted people to take a shower and feel like they were actually cleaner after the shower. I wanted them to feel like they could use the facilities and not come away with hepatitis. So
yeah, well, I certainly didn't come away with hepatitis, which is a good thing, obviously. Tell you what I did do, though. I went down to is it Hiawasee Brew, one of the places you recommend us to, and I had exactly the same thing each night, the double smash burger or whatever it was, and 2 beers. So first beers I've had for 2 months, yeah. And that was great, because that was just down the road. So do you take people down there as well, or but you actually say at 3:30 we're going out, and then you'll come back and pick you up an hour later, 2 hours, or whatever it is, do you?
Yeah, so we actually we take hikers to the Hiawasee Brew 5 nights a week, and the reason it's not 7 nights is because they're closed on 2 of those nights.
Yeah,
but what we do is
they weren't closed either. I was there, which is great.
I know. I bring a gang downtown, and then I go back and pick them up at 5:10. And sometimes some of the hikers have stayed behind, so I bring them with me as I go to pick up another group, and then bring them all over to go downtown. Right. If they want to eat somewhere else, that's okay. And then I kind of do a judgment. I quickly look at the crowd that's there and go, I'll be back in an hour and 20 minutes. Or I try to guess it. I'm pretty good at it, actually.
Yeah, we're so fortunate that we have this location. Ended up being so much better than we even could have imagined, because it only takes us like 5 or 10 minutes to get into downtown, and we have a fabulous outfitter right across the street from the grocery store. Nice. So usually we offer to take people to the outfitter or the grocery store, either one. They're right across the street from each other. But honestly, most everyone wants to go to the outfitter, because let's face it, even if we have all the gear we think we need, we can't resist going to the outfitter. Hikers, you never know. There might be some new piece of amazing equipment that you have to have. So we usually drop people at the outfitter. They walk across the street to the grocery store. Hiawasee is very, very walkable. So if they need to go, the post office is literally in the parking lot of the grocery store. There's a hardware store in case the outfitter doesn't have what they're looking for. And then we give them an hour and a half or so to shop, and then we pick them up, take them, either bring them back to the hostel to have dinner with whatever they've got at the grocery store, or we take them to the restaurant, and then Bill plays the game of, when do I think they'll be done eating?
Yeah, that's easy to work. It's quite a limited menu, but it's good. What I ate was good, so I enjoyed that. So how, actually, before I talk about this then, how about your setup is the bunk room, which sleeps. In fact, there's 2 bunk rooms, aren't there? So the bunk room I was in, slept 1, 2, 4, could sleep 8. Up to 8 people, and the other one's going to sleep 4 people.
Correct.
Right. Okay. And there's 2 bathrooms, and you go and have breakfast. You do a hot breakfast in the morning, which is great, in a little building next door, which is kind of a nice idea to have it separate as well. And then there's this grass you walk across to get out if you want to go out to get the car. Do you allow people to camp on that grass or not? I don't actually know. There's no camping.
No.
Okay.
We really want to take care of the 12 people that we get as customers.
Right.
And I feel like if we get more people, it's going to be harder and harder to make sure that we're really getting them ready to get back on the trail with a fresh start.
Yeah.
So we've decided against it.
Sure. And how has word got out? I mean, you're in Far Out, I understand. Did you advertise? What did you? How did you? Was it word of mouth?
Almost entirely word of mouth.
Right.
That's
Okay.
actually how we started, because I knew that once we went live and Far Out, then the floodgates would be open. So I was in town at the post office, and a hiker came into the post office, and I said, and I knew that there was supposed to be bad weather that afternoon, but it was possibly clearing. So I asked him, I said, hey, do you have a place to stay tonight? There could be bad weather, blah, blah, blah. He said, yeah, no, I think I'm going to get back on trail, and I'm taking the chance that it's going to clear. And I said, great, good for you. How are you getting back to trail? He was like, I don't actually know. I hitched into town. And I said, well, I'll take you. So this was a very new, very green hiker. He was starting the trail in August and just really kind of hoped to hike until the weather got him off, however far north that happened to be.
Sure.
So he was asking me tons of questions. I mean, everything about water, how much water to carry, blah, blah, blah. And he said, I really want to thank you. He said, what if I posted a comment in Far Out at the Gap waypoint to thank you? And I said, yeah, that would be so nice. I appreciate it. Well, 2 days later, that hiker called me from further up the trail and had a family emergency that he needed to come off and get to Atlanta. So we went and picked him up. And on the way back, another hiker called and said, hey, I'm looking at Far Out, and someone left a comment that there's a new hostel at Unicoi Gap. Is that you? And I said, yes, it is. And he said, thank God, because I am tired.
Nice. Nice.
So it kind of started with the hikers leaving comments on Far Out. And then once we kind of had enough customers that we felt like we knew that we were, about a week and a half later, 2 weeks later, I texted Far Out and I said, okay, go ahead, send it live. And then
Sure. Wow.
we were off to the races.
There you go. And how do people book with you? Do they call you? I know I had your number. So is it just calling, or is there a website they can book at?
No, we had online booking for a while, but it kind of became a nightmare to keep up with because I lived in constant terror that when someone books online, it's not like I get an immediate kind of notification if I'm out driving or doing a pickup. And so I lived in constant terror that someone was going to book online while I was taking phone calls or text messages, and I was going to overbook. So we decided to stick with email, phone, and text. And also that kind of gives us a personal connection with talking with people, helping them plan their hike, helping to coordinate and communicate what time we're going to pick them up and where, and how to get a hold of me if there's not reception, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's great. I tell you what, from my personal experience, this last couple of days, the hike was crap. It was in a terrible state. It was too damn hot.
It was so hot.
But the stay was lovely. So, that was the best part of my hike, actually, to be fair. So that's why I wanted to have you guys on and to let people know that it's a lovely place to stay. It's clean, as you say. 2 full bathrooms, which I particularly appreciated, and tons of hair and soap products. So that was happy days. And another thing, I don't think some people realise how important this is, having a flannel to put the soap on to wash yourself with. A lot of these places don't provide them. So you just chuck the soap on yourself and rub it around with the hairs. But that was a real bonus for me as well. So I'd appreciate you coming on and telling us your story, and best of luck next year, okay?
Thank you so much, Steve. We really appreciate it.
Okay, take it easy, okay? Cheers then.
Okay.
Bye. And just so you all know, I invited them on the show because I think they have a top-notch hostel. If I hadn't liked it, I simply wouldn't have mentioned it. They're excellent hosts, and they provide everything a hiker would need, and they're just down the road from a brew house. Win-win-win as far as I'm concerned. The details will be in the show notes. Now, our last class of 24 members. Let's hear from Sondra Lee, or Lemonade.
Hello.
Hey, Sondra. Steve, how are you?
Hi, Steve. Doing very well.
And you are in Marion, I understand.
Yes, I just arrived in Marion this afternoon.
Right. Well, we last time we spoke, I was trying to persuade you to get up for sunrise at McAfee Knob, but I don't think you did. So tell me about the Virginia Triple Crown.
Okay, so yeah, we went ahead with our original schedule, and we got to see Tinker Cliffs early in the morning. It was really neat because you could see McAfee Knob
Yes.
and the
yes.
ridge heading south from it. So we could see the ridge line that we'd be walking in a few moments. And and just going up to Tinker Cliffs, to hike up to and from Tinker Cliffs is beautiful. Just all the huge boulders you're weaving in and out of. That was fantastic.
Sure.
And then we worked our way over to McGaffey Knob. I think it was around 11 a.m. we were there. There was
So, you know, sunrise is
like
a little earlier than that, don't you?
Yeah, we were a little late for sunrise.
yeah.
We were a little
But
bit late.
There were a lot of people up there, were there?
3 people. There was 2 guys that
nice.
I know they did a day hike. I spoke to them, and there's one other guy by himself. He was kind of off to the side. So yeah, it was pretty quiet. Maybe it was still too early in the day, but the view up there is fantastic. Because Tinker Cliffs is really neat because you can see McGaffey Knob and the valley below. But McGaffey was really neat because you have almost a 270-degree view, and just be able to see the valley on each side of you was magnificent. It was beautiful up there.
But you had a beautiful day anyway, which is the important bit. And by the way, not wishing to belabor the point too much, 11 o'clock is not too early. It may be too early for other people, but just so you know. Did you get the classic picture? Did you get, the classic picture from the side?
Yes, I did. Yeah. Trail Horse took a picture of me standing out there. So I do have the picture of me standing out there on McGaffey Knob. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Yeah, the day hikers I spoke to, they said it was an easy 4-mile hike for them to get up there.
Nice. That's good.
So just kind of comparison. So yeah. But when we left McGaffey Knob, we came down, and then you pass the fire road that most people take to get up there. So we had passed that fire road. I could still kind of see it in my periphery. We saw a bear on trail.
Nice.
And I know last time we talked, I'm like, oh, look, there's another bear. I'm all excited about it. But after this bear encounter, I was perfectly happy to not see another bear.
Oh, really? Why?
Yeah. So he was on the trail. We started making noise. He kind of ignored us. He walked around a little bit. And then eventually he stopped and looked at us. And then he started kind of like running around frantically.
Oh.
So he was like trotting, left to the right. He started jumping up a tree, changed his mind. He jumped down. Then he ran over next to the trail, and he's at a fallen tree next to the trail. And at this time, another hiker had caught up with us. And I thought he was going to hang with us, as in safety in numbers, where there's a erratic bear. But no, he's like, do you mind if I pass you? So I'm like, sure, go ahead.
Sure,
so he passed us right in front of this bear. And the bear did not care for it.
How far away was he from the bear then?
Oh, we're within 100 feet of this bear. Maybe in 50 feet. I mean, he was not far from the trail at all.
Right. So what happened? How'd you get past him then?
Well, the guy walks in front of us, and then the bear actually did a bluff charge towards the guy. The bear got up on his hind feet. He lifted his front paws up off the ground, like maybe 2 or 3 feet,
wow.
and then stamped the ground, and then kind of did like a little lunge forward without really stepping forward, but he had that forward momentum. Yeah. And I remember calling out to the hiker in front of us, I'm like, ooh, he just bluff charged you, and the guy just kept walking. So I don't know if it was smart or not, but we kept walking as well. Watching the bear. He watched us. We watched him. I held my hiking poles like above my head to maybe make myself look larger. But he stared at us as we walked by. Luckily, he didn't do another bluff charge. I guess once I saw he did the bluff charge and we weren't that far behind the other hiker, we just kind of went for it.
So when you think about it, then did you feel frightened?
Yeah, the whole it's interesting. It's an adrenaline rush. It's a little frightening, but we chose to keep going. I didn't feel completely scared, but I was very aware of the bear and trying to pay attention to whether or not he was going to do another bluff. Because the fact that it was a bluff charge made me feel a little better, but maybe I shouldn't. But the next one may not be a bluff. But it was a little uncomfortable. And after I passed that bear, I told Trail Horse, as far as if I never see another bear, I'll be completely fine. That was enough of a bear encounter for me. I have seen one since then, but he did behave normally. He ran away from us. But that afternoon, I guess the hiker who passed us had ran into a volunteer ridge runner, and then that volunteer ridge runner caught up with us and wanted to hear our version of what had happened.
Right.
And apparently there is a bear in that area, near McGaffey, who has been doing bluff charging, and instead of running away, he'll temporarily climb up trees and come back down. So I guess they have he said he's an adolescent bear, and they're scared that he's growing into a bear with bad behaviors. So that was interesting.
He's a teenager. That's what they're like.
Exactly. They don't follow the ruls.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
They do everything the opposite.
I think you should look at it as a privilege. You've seen it. Nobody was hurt. You've seen a magnificent thing in the wild, and they look. Don't they think they look so fit and so healthy? Don't they?
Oh my gosh, yes, it did. It was really cool to be that close to him and to look at his face and see how big his ears are and take a look at his snout and everything. It was a privilege to be that close to him. And the fact that he just stared at us as we came by, it was a really neat experience to be that close to the bear.
And you were going south like I did earlier this year to do the Virginia Triple Crown. I started at Dalville, and we went through, and we approached what's it called? Dragon's Tooth from the south. It's quite a climb, isn't it? Quite an interesting climb. So did you enjoy that?
Oh my goodness, yes. I did enjoy it. It's quite rocky. It's a little bit of work to get up there, but it's still fun. If a rock scramble is not going to be all day long, it's pretty fun. And you do have to do a good little bit of scaling to get up there. I would actually not want to come down. So you came probably down at when you did your through hike.
Did. Yes, I did, and it was tough. And I always remember that as one of the early 700 miles in. But in terms of early difficult things, that was the most difficult thing I'd done to that point. Was the down from Dragon's Tooth. Did you go up Dragon's Tooth when you got there?
So I did not crawl up on the pinnacle. I did not crawl up on it. We went up into it, looked outside, did not go up it. But we did meet. There was a hockey player up on part of it, and he's a professional hockey player for the Roanoke team. So it was kind of fun talking to him. But he didn't go to the top either. He said he's been to the top before, but he doesn't always go up because it's. But did you go all the way to the top of the Dragon's Tooth?
Yeah, I did. It's quite a scramble for an old bloke.
Wow.
Yeah, I tell you what I did. I kind of pushed myself, put my back on one side and my feet on the other side, and edged myself up that way. That's why I got up. So
that's really neat. I wouldn't mind doing the Triple Crown again.
Yeah, do it sometime. and one of Trail Horse's old former supervisors, you say, was a trail angel that day?
Yes. I don't know if it may have been like the next day or so. This is one thing that's really neat because you had one time asked, do we have any support or anyone coming out to meet us on the trail? It's like, no. But he was encouraged to reach out to his former supervisor when we got close to Roanoke and Parisburg.
Sure.
And so the two had arranged, so we kind of gave him a loose schedule of where we're going to be. And he drove up there. There was one trailhead that is right on the trail. And he is a hiker, so he kind of knew what we'd want. He brought a couple of camp chairs, chairs with backs. Nice. He brought us lunch. So we had a really nice barbecue lunch. He brought some drinks. And then probably most importantly, he just sat there, and we just sat there and talked to each other for 3 hours. We took a 3-hour lunch that day, just right there on the trail. Oh, it was nice having a little piece of home right there on the trail. It really made for a fantastic day. I'm glad we had like a short mileage day. I think we had like a 12-mile day that day. So we did 9, took our 3-hour lunch, and then hiked the final 3. It was a lovely day.
Sounds like my old work day, having a 3-hour lunch.
That's a great way to do it.
Yes, certainly is. You can't beat that. And you mentioned Paris Mercantile, which I don't know about. Was that a hostel or something?
Oh, okay. So that's what the name of the business, but they have a hiker supply store. So
Oh, right,
it's like three little businesses all combined together. We walked up there to pick up, see if they have some dehydrated meals. And first of all, we had fantastic service. The woman who ran it was just so kind, and it was really neat talking to her. And she had said that she hasn't seen a hiker in like 30 days. Their business had been down. In fact, they kind of they locked up the hiker part of their business, and they were using it as a storage room. So we were kind of like, squeezing through all the boxes to get what we needed. But I thought, I'm starting to ask some of these people here and there, like, how's your business been? And
sure.
So it was kind of interesting for her to say that it's been really low this year. So just kind of following that theme is, for some reason, some of the businesses are not feeling the numbers.
And of course, you still had some warmth. I mean, I was on the trail this last weekend, and it was incredibly warm, actually. So how's the water supply going?
Ooh, water supply. That's a lot of places. Plus, we're walking in these ridge areas. I think there tend to be dry. One day we had a 17-mile hike, or an 18-mile hike, which the first 17 was without water. So we just went ahead and packed out. Between the two of us, we packed out 3 extra liters, and we did the whole 17-mile day.
Wow. That's a long way with water. That's a long carry, isn't it? Frightening.
It is a really long carry. It's, you could really feel that extra weight on you. Now, we've just recently had some big rain, so maybe they'll be okay. In fact, I forded one of the little creeks here where we took off our boots and put on our sandals because the rains had been high.
Oh, you'll be fine. You should be fine for a couple of days.
It goes up for a couple of days and it comes down for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So at one point I kind of introduced the idea of, because we're having to pack out extra water in order to camp somewhere that's even more water you have to camp out. So I kind of lightly popped out, if we stay in some hostels, it just makes things a little easier. Well, Trail Horse has totally jumped onto that. And he's actually had a lot of fun. He has found, between the two of us, we've been staying at hostels for many nights in a row. So it's been kind of fun.
Where you are, Sondra, there's some great hostels around there. One of my favourites is Woods Hole, and there's Quarterway and there's Weary Feet. There's some great hostels there. Have you had any favourites?
Well, two that you just mentioned are not open right now. Weary Feet and Quarterway Inn. I was kind of sad to see that they were closed. Sure, a lot of them closed, after the northbound bubble, and they might open back up in the south, when some more of the southbounders have come. So I did not get to stay at those two, but I did get to stay at Woods Hole. Neville had left for about a month, and she announced them far out she's going to be gone, but everything's still going to be running. Please come stay with us. Well, when we arrived, she had just got back from her month-long break.
Nice.
So I really enjoyed my stay at Woods Hole. It's really hard. I almost have a hard time putting it in words of why that place is so special. The way it's run, it has a good feel about it. It has a good feel about it. Plus, the grounds are gorgeous. It's absolutely a beautiful place to stay. There's places to sit around. We had some of hers and Jaws, who's running the place. They made some fresh bread and some cheese they acquired. And we had that for dinner one night. And she sat there and just talked to us throughout our whole dinner, just, the three of us. She wasn't going to do a normal dinner because it was her first day back from her break.
Sure.
And just having some one-on-one time with her was fantastic. We really enjoyed Woods Hole. We wound up staying there 2 nights, so we chose to do a slack pack the second day. So we had someone drop us off 16 miles south, and we hiked back to Woods Hole. So then that night she did have a dinner. So Woods Hole was fantastic. I would love the opportunity to go back there.
Did she do the gratitude circle?
We did do the gratitude circle. It is.
Yeah. Tell everybody what it is. I think I've mentioned it a few times, but you tell everybody what the gratitude circle is.
Oh, yeah. So the gratitude circle, so before the meals, she asked everyone to come out into the front lawn, and we stand there. She used to have everyone hold hands, but she just said, I don't make you hold hands anymore. But you take a moment or two of silence, to kind of, I guess, let your thoughts come to your mind of what you might be thankful for. And then she has one person speak up and just simply state something you're thankful for. And then after that, the person on the left will go, and everyone kind of goes around, and you'll hear some fun things like I'm grateful that we're about to have a great meal, or you might hear someone say something that's really profound.
Yep.
Of like someone was like a cancer survivor, she was in remission, so that one really kind of gets to you.
Sure.
So yeah, it was neat, and I the first time I did it, what came to my mind right away is I'm really thankful that I had the opportunity. My life, kind of fell in place where I had an opportunity to spend 6 months out here hiking, because it's hard for people to find the opportunity to get out there. So that's what came in my mind the first time we did the gratitude circle, and it's really neat. It's a really neat thing she does.
Yeah, I think it's very special. I thought it was a bit cheesy when I first did it, but then I thought to myself, what an idiot. As what you said is right. People say profound things. They may not even mean them to be profound, but they strike you in a way that it gives you the opportunity to stand and think for a moment and listen to what people are saying. And that's kind of a rare thing these days. So I've always loved that gratitude circle, and it's a special part of the day every time you do it.
Yeah, exactly. And if you know it's coming, what's interesting is you start looking for the positive things around you. And
Absolutely.
when you're and when you start looking for the positive things, it's amazing how they're all around you. And so she lets you focus on that, and it brings more positivity to you. So yeah, that was really neat.
So you're now down in Marion. It's September the 2nd as we speak, Monday, September the 2nd. Any plans forming in your mind right now?
Okay, so we had one of these days. It was a really nice morning. The mood was fantastic, and he was making some jokes about yellow blazing or something like that. I don't know. He was making some jokes. I opened up the thought of the conversation of what are our plans on the hike? Are you enjoying this? And he is really enjoying the hike. He wants to hike all the way to Georgia. So I was able to nicely tease it out of him to find out for sure if this is really what he wants to do. And so our plan is to keep heading on down to Georgia. And I let him know, if you're not comfortable, we'll work something out, and I'll go up to Katahdin. But we're enjoying our time together, so we are going to continue on south. So that's the plan.
Okay, there you go then.
So,
That's good.
So yeah, so so it looks like I may not do Katahdin this year, but I did get an invitation from someone I met in my first 10 days on the plan. First 10 days of the hike, we met a woman who lives in Pennsylvania. She told us to look us up when we got to Pennsylvania, and she turned out to be a fantastic trail angel. She took 5 of us into her home, made us dinner and breakfast, and sent us back out on the trail the next morning. We've kind of kept in touch with her. She's doing her through hike in 26. And so she heard, about what happened and how we flipped back early. And she gave me an invitation to join her in 26. So it's kind of neat having that there. I know it's 2 years away instead of 1 year away, but it might work out well. Trail Horse was actually really happy to hear that, because he prefer I go with somebody. So if anything, but then things could always fall through with her too. But I think I'm going to definitely have my sights on making 26. If I don't do it beforehand, I want 26 to be my year to knock off the final 280 miles.
That's awesome. I still think I'd go to Katahdin, get it out of the way this year. You just never know, dear. But you've got your plans, and you should absolutely live with those plans.
Exactly. I really, really, really did want that through hike, but now I'm enjoying the hike with Trail Horse. We're enjoying it together. And so if it means I do 1900 1 year and the other 280 another year, then so be it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So that's awesome, though. I'm glad you come to terms with it, and you're heading on south and enjoying it. The enjoying bit is the only thing that really matters, isn't it? So
Yes.
Yeah. Well, look, I appreciate you giving us a catch up, and as you know, some of the others are finished. Actually, one of the other class of 24 finished this morning, which was Moxie.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, she finished this morning. So I'm hopefully I'm going to speak to her when she gets down to the hotel later on. But good to catch up again, Sondra. And we're going to keep up with you more and more now because the others are going to finish soon. So you will be our class of 24. So we'll follow you all the way down to Georgia. All right.
All right, then. I'll be glad to share. All right, Steve.
Okay. Cheers, then.
Cheers.
I noticed while I was editing that I was a bit unsympathetic towards Sondra, as she clearly had a few issues with seeing a bear bluff charging. Sorry about that, Sondra. I always think it's a privilege to see them in the wild. Perhaps I should have empathised a bit more. She may not have seen Maccabee Knob at dawn, but she still saw the magnificent Triple Crown her way, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And now she has a plan. As she and Trailhorse are Georgia bound and enjoying their time together, she's at peace with her decision. That's exactly how it should be. Finally today, it's Michael Gosh, or No Rush to the Elder.
Hey, Mighty Blue.
Hey, Michael, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm sitting here at the Cooper Lodge shelter. They're on
right.
Killington.
So, where are you, on Killington?
Yes. Yep.
Is that the one at the top?
It is the one at the top, and it's 49 degrees out, and the wind's blowing.
Woo! Nice. I was actually getting worried about you. Normally, you're the person who responds probably first of all the people, of the 5 people in our class of 24. Yeah, I hadn't heard from you for a couple of days. Have you had bad service recently?
I have. Every time I got to a site and I was going to text, there was no service.
All right.
Even my wife, I had to use a Garmin to contact her and tell her I had no service, so she knows not to worry.
That's good. So what mile are you at now? If you're on Killington, how many miles is that now?
It's over 1,700. I don't know. I looked for a thing on the side of the road, on the side of the trail, and I didn't even see anything, but we were, it was a tough climb coming up Little Killington.
Well, last time we spoke, I think you were somewhere in Massachusetts area, so that's a couple of weeks ago. So, and you always send me great little notes. Father Tom's campsite in Cheshire. So, tell us about Father Tom's campsite.
Oh, that is an amazing campsite. I mean, there's electricity and water and clean privies, and right outside there's a little ice cream shop that they'll make hamburgers and everything, and it was the bomb. And then
where was that? Where is that? Sorry, I don't remember that at all.
Cheshire. It's right when you come into Cheshire. There's a little ice cream shop on the right, and then there's a snow plow, and then there's a big like a wheel of Cheshire cheese right there. If you take a left, it's right back there.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that. Didn't know that at all. And you mentioned Mount Greylock, which I always think is a really epic, an epic view from Mount Greylock. Do you enjoy it there?
Oh, I did immensely. And I stayed in the lodge. They didn't have any food, but they would sell you beer. And I got to sit through about an hour and a half long discussion of mushrooms, because I like mushrooms. And I found some of the mushrooms they were talking about that were edible on the trail.
Oh, really? Good Lord. Well, I'd never risk it myself. I must admit, several people came into camp when I was doing the AT with mushrooms and ramps and all that sort of stuff, and they'd cook everything up, and I'm thinking, I'm not sure I really know that. Also, by the way, picking mushrooms or ramps from the side of the trail is a dangerous thing to do, knowing how men treat their bathroom breaks right beside the trail. So I would never do that. And you mentioned North Adams as well, and getting into Vermont. Why was that special?
It was because, it was a long downhill, and it was starting to get muddy. And just before you got to Route 2, there's a little school there, and I looked to the right, and there were 6 ice chests full. And I said, they're probably empty. And I opened them up, and they were all full. They had ice cold drinks. They had food. It was the bomb.
There's something special about it, isn't it? You don't expect it, but you'd love it to be there. You love it to be, really good as well. And when it is, it's a real special treat. And having that trail magic all the way up it's one of the great things of the trail. And you're in Vermont. You got into Vermont, and the first thing you mentioned, of course, is the mud. So Vermont is living up to its name, is it?
Oh, it is. Let me tell you, you expect mud to be down in the lower elevations where the water runs. Oh, no, there's mud on top of mountains. I'm like, are you kidding me? There's mud everywhere in Vermont. And they keep saying, this is a dry season. I'm like, wow, I can't believe it. And then I was climbing out of, and I was super, super happy to finally get to Vermont. I was ecstatic. And then going up, the climb out of Bennington is pretty steep, and it's like a scree field. So I'm hopping from rock to rock to rock and not watching where I'm really going. Walked into a tree so hard I almost knocked myself out.
And you walk into a tree. So I know you have to look at your feet when you're hiking, nearly all the time, which is probably why I rarely saw too many animals. But how do you actually walk into a tree? Was it off? Well, it obviously was slightly off the trail. What happened?
Yeah, well, like I said, I was rock hopping going up, because the scree field, and the trail turned, and I stepped up, and I didn't realize there was a tree leaning into the trail. Hit me on the top of the head.
Jeez. Didn't draw blood, I hope.
No. It skinned me, but didn't no blood.
Because you said you were actually, that's coming out of Bennington, but you fell coming down into Bennington. How many times have you fallen so far? Do you keep a count?
No, I don't keep a count. I thank God every day on the days that I don't fall. Yesterday was the first day in a while I didn't fall one time yesterday.
And what sort of falls are you getting? Are they kind of complete wipeouts? I mean, have you injured yourself yet?
The time I fell, I broke that rib that one time in Pennsylvania.
Obviously the ribs thing. Yeah. But have you done anything else that's put you off trail for a couple of days?
Oh no. You get skinned and draw a little blood, but now you keep going.
Yeah, I remember bleeding out of virtually every part of my body at some stage when I was out there. I ran out of Band-Aids at the end.
The funniest thing that happened, and that's what you're getting ready to talk about. So I can't remember if I was going up to Stratton or I was coming down from Stratton, but there was the trail. It was hard to follow, and I finally found it, and the trail went down there was a rock that was very slick. But then there was a little ridge across the top where you could see where the trail went. And there was water running down it. And I'm like, you know what? I can walk across this ridge. I won't. And just about the time I thought slip, I slipped. And just, instinct, I just tucked. And I must have rolled 15, 20 feet down this.
Wow.
Yeah, It was slick. And I looked, and I didn't really skin anything. I broke a fingernail, and I was covered in rotten leaves, and I was wet. But other than that, I was okay. I'm like, wow.
And so then, of course, there's only one option, isn't it? Get up and get on with it, isn't it?
That's right. And then I went into Stratton Pond, and I was sitting there, and I was looking at this. The hiker came in, and it was late. And so I went to bed, and then next morning I got up, and I started hiking. And then he hiked past me, and I said, excuse me for a minute. You look like a guy that I've met before. And I said, in fact, you look like this author that I met at Trail Days when I went there and saw Mighty Blue at Trail Days. And you were sitting next to him. And he went, yeah, that's me. So it was Derek Lugos.
Oh, Derek Lugo. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yes. He's hiking with a young lady at the moment.
Yes, he gained a little bit of weight, so his face was a little bit sore, and really nice guy. We had a nice conversation.
Yeah, nice fella, really nice fella actually.
Yep.
And he's doing the long trail with I'm trying to think her name now. Oh, I feel terrible forgetting it. I can see her face, Christine, I believe her name is.
Yeah.
So you're in Vermont. How far are you from the border? New Hampshire border.
About 50 miles.
So you've got about 550, 600 to go, something like that. 550, something like that.
Yeah,
anyway.
less than 500.
Right. So how's your timing? What's your timing looking like in terms of getting to Katahdin?
Remember my friend Chopsticks that hurt his knee? Well, he will be done with his rehab on the 20th of September. And the 20th of September, he's going to head up to Millinocket. And on the 20th of September, I'm going to head up to Millinocket. And we're going to go up there,
right.
and the plan is to go 50 miles into the 100-mile wilderness and hike north and complete Katahdin, go back to Millinocket, and have them take us 50 miles back into the wilderness and start hiking south.
Nice. So what's he going to do once he meets where you are now? What's he going to the time you drop off, in other words, the time you go up and meet him to go into Katahdin, what's he going to do when you hike down with him?
So he's going to hike. He's going to hike the whole thing down to where I've already hiked, and then where I've already hiked at, I'm going to go get off the trail, go home, and get my truck, and come back, and then I'm going to slack pack him the rest of the way south till he gets to the point in New York where he got hurt. So that way he can do it.
Michael, that is such a wonderful plan, and giving back to your fellow hiker at the same time. Good for you, man. That's fantastic. Are you getting antsy for home? Because you've been out quite a while, haven't you?
I am. My wife is getting antsy for me to come home too.
Right. So how does she feel about you slackpacking your friend?
She understands. I mean, like I said, she knows I've been a nurse. I've always taken care of people. So yeah, she understands.
Oh, bless you for that. That's lovely. He's going to get the chance to finish his, even though he's had this injury. Good for you, man. Great. Well, look, I'm glad you're having a good time still. I'm glad. Hopefully today it's only about 11:35, so it's still got time. Yeah. But hopefully you haven't fallen today, and you continue to have a good day and a good rest of your hike. Okay, and we'll catch up soon.
Sounds good, Steve. You have a great day.
Okay, buddy. Take it easy. Cheers, then.
You too. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
He's found the mud. It's tough stuff, no question. What a plan he's worked out with his hiking partner, Chopsticks. Chopsticks coming back, they'll summit Katahdin together, then head south with Michael slackpacking his buddy once he's done. Like many people who meet each other on this trail, they've forged a bond that's pretty difficult to break. I love the way they've worked that out between them. So that's it. All 5 of our team have brought us up to date, and Anita has finished the trail. The next few weeks are going to be exciting for them all as they near their respective goals. I'll see you next week.